Elizabeth Warren just cornered Trump's trade nominee with a simple question that exposed a stunning betrayal of American farmers. While farm bankruptcies surge and soybean prices collapse, Trump handed $40 billion to Argentina, the same country now undercutting U.S. farmers by selling soybeans to China. The nominee's evasive non-answers revealed everything about whose interests this administration really serves.
Senator Warren.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So President Trump promised that he would lower costs for American families on day one. Those were his words, on day one. Instead, he is prioritizing a $40 billion bailout for Argentina and the wealthy hedge fund investors, starting with $20 billion in taxpayer money and $20 billion more fronted by U.S. banks, potentially guaranteed by taxpayers, and who knows, maybe even more money going to Argentina. Now, this bailout came after Argentina cut a deal with China that directly undercuts American soybean farmers. Under Trump, farm bankruptcies are surging, crop prices are falling, and Trump's chaotic tariffs are making fertilizer and farming equipment more expensive. But instead of helping American farmers who clearly need that help, he's helping the farmers in Argentina. So don't take my word for it. Listen to the farmers themselves. One soybean farmer said, quote, "I turn on the news and we gave $20 billion of taxpayer money to Argentina, my competition." The American Soybean Association said plainly, quote, "The frustration is overwhelming." So, Dr. Callahan, you're being nominated to serve as America's chief agricultural negotiator. Do you agree that bailing out Argentina while our own farmers are struggling is a betrayal of the American soybean farmer?
Thank you, Senator Warren. In our negotiations for agreements on reciprocal trade, soy is a top commodity that we are negotiating around the world to ensure that countries around the world have access to high-quality U.S. soybeans.
So, I appreciate that. I don't mean to interrupt, but we're going to be limited on our time here. It's an easy question. I'm asking you if you agree with American soybean farmers themselves, whose interests you are supposed to represent in this job, and they are ringing the alarm about their own economic livelihoods. Surging farm bankruptcies, soybean farmers losing access to key markets when we prop up these competitors. So I just don't understand. If you can't acknowledge that there is a problem here, how do you represent American soybean farmers?
Thank you, Senator Warren. And in my role as the Assistant USTR for Agriculture, and if confirmed as the Chief Agricultural Negotiator, I will have the interests of U.S. farmers and ranchers.
Can you acknowledge that there is a serious problem right now for those soybean farmers?
Our current negotiations are making good on the promise to U.S. farmers and ranchers to reset our trade relationships.
So I'm sorry, you can't even acknowledge that our American soybean farmers are having trouble right now? Is that what you're telling me?
Oh,
you're just going to sit there and say, nope, we're working.
China's weaponization of agriculture has absolutely harmed U.S. soybean farmers, and
so farmers are in trouble because China quit buying from them. Because who is China buying from right now? What's that country?
China is purchasing from every country except the United States
right now? What's the name of that country?
China
Dr.
purchases
Callahan,
many
what is the name of the country China is buying soybeans from right now?
China is purchasing Latin American soybeans. As of this morning,
what is
they
the
are
name of the
purchasing U.S.
particular
soybeans
country
as well.
They are buying soybeans from? If you can't answer that question, I don't see how you can represent American soybean farmers. Dr. Callahan, let me ask you about another constituency that you supposedly would be fighting for, and that's cattle ranchers. So Trump bails out Argentina. He undercuts American soybean farmers. What's next? he announces he's raising the quota for Argentine beef imports. Now, importing Argentine beef will devastate small ranchers, but with the big four meatpacking corporations controlling the market, consumers are not going to see prices that are any lower. So once again, Trump is helping Argentina while American ranchers and American consumers pay the price. One Illinois cattle producer called Trump's plan, quote, a betrayal of the American rancher, and said Trump is, quote, acting more like president of Argentina than president of the United States. So, Dr. Callahan, do you agree with the American cattle ranchers that importing beef from Argentina will harm them, particularly the small ranchers?
Thank you, Senator Warren. I am in close communication with U.S. cattlemen.
We're out of time. Can you just give me a yes or no on that? Do you understand that this will harm our small ranchers?
Thank you, Senator. I'm confident that the cattlemen understand
Could I
that
just have a
USTR,
yes
we
or
are
no?
negotiating
We're out
for
of
their
time here.
interests to open markets for U.S. beef.
Okay.
She just came back.
Well, obviously I can't get an answer.
Thank you very much.
What Senator Warren accomplished in this hearing wasn't just political theater, it was a masterclass in exposing the gap between campaign promises and governing reality. Her questioning revealed a nominee who couldn't acknowledge basic facts about American agriculture, let alone defend policies that actively harm the farmers he's supposed to represent. The numbers Warren cited paint a devastating picture. While Trump promised to lower costs on day one, his administration instead prioritized a $40 billion bailout for Argentina, $20 billion in direct taxpayer money, with another $20 billion fronted by U.S. banks and potentially guaranteed by taxpayers. This isn't just poor prioritization, it's a direct subsidy to American farmers' competition at the worst possible moment. The timing makes this particularly damaging. Argentina recently cut a deal with China that directly undercuts American soybean farmers, and now China is purchasing Latin American soybeans instead of American ones. Warren forced Callahan to acknowledge this reality, but he couldn't even name Argentina as the country benefiting from Chinese purchases. For someone nominated as America's chief agricultural negotiator, this level of evasion suggests either incompetence or deliberate obfuscation. The human cost Warren highlighted is impossible to ignore. Farm bankruptcies are surging under Trump's policies. Crop prices are falling, tariffs are making fertilizer and farming equipment more expensive just when farmers can least afford it. One soybean farmer's quote captures the absurdity perfectly. I turn on the news, and we gave $20 billion of taxpayer money to Argentina, my competition. The American Soybean Association called their frustration overwhelming. Callahan's responses revealed the administration's fundamental problem with accountability. When Warren asked directly whether bailing out Argentina while American farmers struggle constitutes a betrayal, Callahan offered bureaucratic word salad about negotiations for agreements on reciprocal trade. When pressed for simple acknowledgement that American farmers are in trouble, he deflected to vague promises about resetting trade relationships. This pattern of evasion matters because it demonstrates how political appointees insulate themselves from the consequences of failed policies. By refusing to acknowledge problems, they avoid having to explain solutions. By speaking in generalities, they avoid committing to specific actions. The result is an accountability vacuum where farmers suffer while officials maintain plausible deniability. The beef import quota reveals the same dynamic at work. Trump announced increased imports of Argentine beef, which will devastate small ranchers while the big four meatpacking corporations maintain their market control. Consumers won't see lower prices, but Argentine producers will gain market share at American ranchers' expense. One Illinois cattle producer called this a betrayal of the American rancher, saying Trump acts more like president of Argentina than president of the United States. Warren's questioning exposed how trade policy becomes corporate welfare when disconnected from domestic consequences. The Argentina bailout benefits wealthy hedge fund investors who hold Argentine debt. The beef imports benefit large meat packers who can source cheaper foreign products. The soybean situation benefits Chinese purchasers and Argentine producers. In each case, the costs fall on American farmers and ranchers, while the benefits flow to financial interests. This hearing illustrates why Senate confirmation processes matter. Warren forced into public record what Callahan preferred to avoid acknowledging. She created a factual foundation for future oversight and accountability. Most importantly, she demonstrated that evasive nominees reveal as much through what they won't say as through what they will. The broader implications extend beyond agriculture. When trade representatives can't acknowledge the domestic costs of their policies, it signals that political loyalty trumps factual analysis in decision-making. When nominees deflect rather than engage with legitimate congressional oversight, it weakens the constitutional system of checks and balances that keeps executive power accountable. Warren's persistence in demanding simple yes or no answers highlighted how bureaucratic language becomes a shield against democratic accountability. Callahan's inability to give straight answers about policies affecting his future constituents suggests he's more prepared to serve political interests than agricultural ones. That's exactly what senators need to know before voting on confirmation, and exactly what farmers need to understand about who's supposed to be fighting for them.